Thanks for tuning into Heavy, where we bring you the latest interviews with local, national, and international artists. Today's victim is...
What's up? This is Eric from PREVAIL. Just talking about our new record, True Power, out now. Feels so good to finally say that. Been working on this record for 2 years, and now that it's out, I'm so relieved.
You sounded, brother. You sounded. Thanks for joining us today, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. So, as you say, PREVAIL have released your latest album, True Power. So, musically, tell us what you were going for with the album, mate, and what your plans and goals were.
Well, coming out of Trauma, the last record, we really prided ourselves on that record of pushing the boundaries a little bit, blurring lines between as many genres that we enjoyed growing up listening to, from metal to hip hop to new metal to just rock in general. It's, has a bunch of different lanes to be in, and we really tried to push the record, Trauma, that is, in that direction. After being received the way it was, we were like, well, let's see how much further we can push it. And being able to take 2 years to just tweak and work on this and give it its due process, and couldn't be more proud of what we accomplished, trying to blur lines of genres.
And to date, you've released the singles Self-Destruction, Bad Things, and Body Bag. So would you say they're a good sonic representation of the album as a whole?
Yeah, that's tough, because there are some songs that kind of live outside of that little trifecta there. But for the most part, I would say that is a core representation, a good representation of what we've tried to do on this record.
Yeah. And the album starts with the track 0.00, which is basically a static burst of energy to get things going, mate. So how does that set up the album for you?
Well, this is the first time we've ever had an intro track on a record. In the past, they just kind of didn't feel necessary. It just kind of was like, well, let's just get to the music. Let's just get to that first song. And with this record, there's a few themes, a few lyrics that kind of entwine and are repeated throughout songs, and themes that kind of tie in with other songs, and where sonically they may not sound like they should be on the same record, but there's something that's kind of gluing them together. With that being said, I wouldn't call this a concept record, but like I said, with all these few themes that have been running through, it felt important to have something that set the listener up, especially with There's Fear and Letting Go being our first single, having a very more so theatrical song, something, pushing the lines, the boundaries there. Felt important to kind of lead the listener into this journey, this roller coaster that we've built in this record. And I remember being a kid and listening to some of my favorite records that had something deeper in it, and being able to put that album on and not only just listen to the singles, but go through the whole record as a whole. And you just have that sort of religious experience with the record. And I really wanted to try, and I had to know the rest of the guys, we really wanted to try to have that and give that to our fans.
So we sort of touched on this a little bit before, mate, but musically the album is extremely diverse. Like, it's got moments of brutal heaviness offset by others of calm beauty. So was that a focus going in, that you wanted that wide range, I guess?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier with Trauma, we tried to do that as well, and push the walls of our sound and what the box we were living in was. So this time around, we really wanted to do the same thing and push on the parts that we felt we had a strong arm on. We felt like was a core PREVAIL sound, but then really try and blend things of other things that we got from other influences, like growing up. Try to squeeze them in and really make this record just the most diverse, but felt cohesive. Really stoked that we were able to really walk that razor thin edge to be able to bring, things that don't really feel like they belong together.
Yeah.
But like, from going from a piano ballad to a song that's in like double drop E, you wouldn't expect that on the same record.
Like, as you say, I mean, like the shifts are so extreme in parts that they really shouldn't work, but somehow they do. So how difficult was it finding that balance? Because you mentioned that it's a raising edge. So how difficult was it to find that edge without pushing over it?
Honestly, I think the 2 years that we had being off tours and being able to live with some of these songs for more than half a year to, a year, where we actually could live with these weird changes, these weird, blends of, songs and instrumentation, and sit with it and vet these ideas out. And I tell you, there were some demos that stretched even further, but
Oh, wow.
we, just having that discipline to be like, that's pretty out there. It might be a little self-indulgent. I don't think that really is going to serve the record the best way. So it's a lot of, like I said, a lot of discipline to keep this project very focused, especially when you're working with a bunch of different sonic variables.
So did you have one person that was the voice of reason, that if it did go a little bit too far, there'd be one person that you'd listen to when he said, hey man, that's going a little bit too far? Or was it up to the individuals?
I think that's why it's great that there's three of us writing. It's not just one hand on the steering wheel driving the ship and everyone just along for the ride. There's been times I've pitched ideas that were a little out there, and having fighting hard for them, be like, no, I'm telling you, this is sick, and working on that part and going, okay, I concede that was a mistake and I apologize. But from that idea sprung another idea, and those ideas ended up working and becoming parts of the song. So it's just good to have three people to balance one another out.
So you've said that this album's like a bit an extension of Trauma in some respects, but Brian's also quoted as saying that True Power sees I Prevail going into a new phase. What does he mean by that?
Well, where Trauma was more of a self-reflective, emotional record for us, and we're bearing your heart on your sleeve and being open with the lows that you're going through, the hardships that you're going through, but to also say that sometimes things aren't okay, and that's okay. So leaving that record and moving into this new era of I Prevail, I guess you could say, is that what we learned from that, what we've taken from Trauma, we found new strength. We found our real power from putting that out there. So from taking your lows and your hardships and your pain, and instead of just using that as a crutch or using that as an excuse, but trying to find way to turn that into your strength, is really what your true power is all about.
And so I Prevail formed back in 2013, mate. So what was the musical climate like that gave birth to the band, and where did you fit in? Because like you guys, it's fair to say that you're unlike anything that's ever really been out there before, and that's in a good way, bro.
Yeah, 2013, man, that was very I don't know how else to describe it, but scene kind of I don't know if you guys called it called that scene out in Australia, but it was just like a lot of breakdowns and a little bit of electronics mixed in. And I'm sorry, man, I live by an airbase and planes are just going crazy right now. I'm so sorry.
You're getting dive bombed.
Yeah, man, it's insane. It's like they're running routes right now, practicing right over my house. I apologize. Give me 1 second. All right. If you don't mind, could you repeat the question? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you're right, mate. That's just like, it's just talking about the musical climate that gave birth to the band.
Yes.
And where you fit in.
I feel like we fit in at a time when there was a lot of, I feel like, the same bands. I feel like it was getting to the point of the musical cycle. Everything's cyclical, you know, everything comes back around, and trends and fads in music. So where I feel like we were a little bit older when we were starting out with this band, we took a lot of inspiration from bands that we grew up listening to, and tried to put, you know, a little bit more of a modern, you know, sound twist, I guess, with, you know, newer production and lower tunings, and a little bit of electronics. So at that time, I feel like we were kind of almost going against the grain, even though we fit in fairly well with the scene at the time. But moving forward, we really started finding our sound after Lifelines and moving into Trauma. But there was you know, there's growing pains, and there's things you learn, and I think it all just came down to our tastes in music, having different tastes of growing up with different styles of, you know, I was more of the extreme metal head, going from Metallica to Slipknot to grindcore, death metal, and all that, and Steve more like in just like straight rock and metal. And you know, taking those influences, it was something I feel like not a lot of bands are doing at that particular time.
Very cool. All right, Eric. Well, thanks very much for your time today, mate. True Power is out now, and it is quite honestly one of the most fantastically eclectic, brilliant albums I've ever heard. So if you haven't had a listen yet, I suggest you get yourself out there and grab a copy.
Well, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's crazy after 2 years of working on this record to finally have it out. It's like a big weight off my chest, and I'm just excited that the fans are sticking around, and that you're giving us a chance with this new stuff, and just super stoked and can't wait to come back.
Beautiful, Eric. Well, you watch out for those fighter planes, mate. Make sure you keep ducking.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it.
No worries, brother. Take care, man.